You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening, guys? Today I'll be interviewing Anna Vocino. Anna is a voiceover talent and stand-up comic who also happens to be a celiac who writes cookbooks. Okay, so she co-hosts the Fitness Confidential podcast with Vinny Tortorich. She also is a voice of hundreds of commercials, cartoons, movies, promos, radio stations, and video games, which is a super cool day job to support her passion of food blogging and cookbook authoring. Make sure you check out her book on Amazon, Eat Happy and Eat Happy Too. All right, Anna, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself and also where you're calling in from today.
I am in not so sunny Los Angeles right now. It's pouring down rain. And I am a voiceover actor and comedian, but I also write cookbooks and sell them and podcast and all that stuff. Everybody has a podcast though, right? Don't we all have podcasts? You and I do.
Everybody. Yeah, I'm working on my mom's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the coronavirus has a podcast at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're right. And it's everywhere.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your website, annavocino.com. What does it do? What do you kind of focus on there? What does it bring to the marketplace?
Well, here's the thing. My website, because I work to build a personal brand through doing comedy. And back when in 2012, a friend of mine, I was on a show that was canceled and went on this really long depression, to be quite honest. I was very sad about it because the show was very good and nobody watched it. And I'm like, oh gosh, now I'm back to, square one, which now I know, by the way, is a myth we tell ourselves. You're not actually ever back to square one. But at the time, I really, really believed it. And a friend of mine called me who was a fitness guy and he said, let's start a podcast. I have a book to sell. And I was like, nope, it sounds like a lot of work. And then I read his book and it was so good. It's Vinny Tortorich's book, Fitness Confidential. And it was so good that it literally got me to work for free for years. That's how good his book was.
Awesome.
And I produced his podcast. We did 3 episodes a week for years. Now I just do 1 episode a week with him and he does 5 total. And what happened is I was blogging about gluten-free foods because I'm celiac. And it was a great way to spend your free time because when you work in Hollywood, you have to wait for the phone to ring. And I've been really lucky to have really good jobs. I'm the voice of NBC right now. That's an amazing job. But one day that job's going to run out and they're not going to call. So you better be setting up your own things. And this is what a lot of actors my age are going through. So we started podcasting. I converted all of my recipes to low carb recipes, came out with my first cookbook, Eat Happy, in 2016. And now my second one, Eat Happy Too, just came out. And so what I offer are recipes for people who are looking for low carb content. And then hopefully some comedy if you happen to be booking a comedy show.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mostly it's the cooking.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So it sounds like the low carb diets, most of these, we're looking at the ketos and all the low carb, that weren't necessarily fad, that definitely kept and continue to go on.
Sure.
But every one of those have, which is great from a market perspective for you, is that every one of those have pretty much a low carb positioning when it comes to the nutritional value, right?
Yep.
And have you found a lot of keto pushing towards your dieters or other dieters?
Oh, absolutely. Because the guy I do the podcast with is always in dietary ketosis. He's a cancer survivor. And the one thing that feeds cancer is sugar. So he makes sure to never not even have a bite of it. He's kind of superhuman that way. But if you have a motivator like a very rare form of leukemia, that'll do it. Our perspective and my perspective in these books is to take the keto approach, take a low carb, take a paleo approach, take even a carnivore approach, because there's a lot of meat recipes and carnivore is having a big moment right now, and put them all together into one big selection of, grain-free and sugar-free recipes. And my one exception which I think this is what differentiates it, because I can't stand the diet industry. And the diet industry, because you know how it is. Somebody finds keto and then they turn into a religious person about keto. Or somebody finds veganism, they turn into a religious person about veganism. And I want what we eat to stop being such a part of our ideology that we can have just normal conversations about food, because we could all get together and kind of agree that the processed foods that we've been told are healthy are not. But instead we fight. There's a lot of fighting. So what I want to bring is a really rational approach to eat real foods, eat whole foods. And if you're going to make a dessert, which should be a treat, make it with fresh ingredients with the least amount of sugar possible. So that might be where I differentiate more, because I want it to become incorporated into someone's lifestyle. I have found over the years, through helping tens of thousands of people, 100% of them eat sugar again. It's not like you're never going to have it again.
Right,
We're
right.
humans.
Exactly.
We have
Right.
birthdays, we have kids, we have Christmas, we have holidays, you know?
Right, right.
So
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. So I want to be a voice of reason. However, I get a lot of kickback. Why don't you have the carb grams in your book? And I'm like, please,
Yeah.
you've been dieting since you were 12. You know the carb grams and everything. It's all real food.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I think the fight and the good fight against the process. We need more people out there doing that against the process world, or just the overall media hype, which we're seeing a lot of now on many levels, but also just just the media hype on how big the food industries are, and how good they are at just pushing this milk does a body good type of media. Right. Like it's just such horse shit. And it's like, but it's so legitimately in every household. Like, how do we get more?
Every household.
Every household. I mean, how do you
when did it become
that?
okay to like, and I think it probably became okay during my generation, because they started with the processed foods and the cereals and the Go-Gurts and the thing, you know, all those like snacky foods. Also too, why does everybody have to have a snack every 5 minutes? You don't. You really don't.
Yeah, is your blood sugar down? Are you is there something wrong?
No, if you're diabetic, for sure,
exactly.
I get it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're an outlier if that's the case, and it's not. And it's become the norm of like, I remember, you know, being the sports mom and having to bring the snacks to the kids, which by the way is kind of a nightmare to sign up for, because everybody has their own opinion about the thing, and you have to keep track of all the things. And I wanted to be very conscientious and a good mom, but I wanted to pull my hair out, because I'm like, also, do they need a snack? They played like soccer for like 5 minutes. At least my daughter did.
Snack
she wasn't
time.
playing the whole game.
Yeah.
Do they need a snack? Can they just wait till dinner? Are they going to die?
No. Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with you. How do you, since we're on this topic, obviously we have a lot of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, but I know we have a lot of parents that are listeners as well. I wonder how you breach that topic. Have you ever done it where you just, cause it's so personal, because all of a sudden you're telling some parent how to feed their kid. It becomes personal. And it's like, dude, just
all of it is just deeply personal.
Whatever you're giving them sucks. How do you say that nicely?
No, you can't say that.
How do you say that nicely, right?
You just can't. You got to keep your mouth shut. You got to keep your mouth shut, and you got to know. Man. Here's the thing with the health journey. Think about your own. Stop giving your kids garbage.
Well,
you could passive aggressively blog about it. A friend of mine was a mommy blogger, and she was actually pretty successful at calling people out with fake names on her blog back when blogging was actually a very popular platform.
Yeah.
You know, there are definitely ways to do it. You could volunteer at the school and figure out a way in from the inside. I know a lot of parents and teachers have come to the information that I'm providing as a way to like, because they give their dietary guidelines and they're insane. The dietary guidelines that they give out at the schools. We all know the whole tomato is a vegetable, so pizza sauce is considered a vegetable. And I talk to kids all the time about what they're getting at their school meals. And I'm like, oh, so garbage. You're getting garbage. Yeah. So I know a lot of teachers and parents try to change it from the inside. That's probably the best way. But no, confronting the parent and being like, no.
Okay. Yeah, they have their own scientific, like, you know, analogy behind it, or why it's okay, or you just don't do it. But I think getting it from the root is a good idea.
Yeah, or you're tired, or you can't afford it, or it's not accessible. And I get it. So that's why I say, like, you can't, you know, judge the other people, even though we all do in our heads, but you can't like outwardly confront somebody about it. But I know what I was going to say. When you think about your own health journey, you kind of come to things on your own. You're like, you realize our bodies are very intuitive, and you're like, you know what? When I eat McDonald's as a teenager, I felt like crap. And I can't do that. It's not sustainable. I'm not going to there's no way I could be a good entrepreneur and make the money and impact the lives that I impact on the diet I used to eat as a teenager. No way.
No way.
No way.
No way. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I wish we had the metabolism and still, but you just got to continue to work harder and harder.
The metabolism was fine, but you didn't feel great. I didn't feel great.
Yeah, exactly.
I always fell asleep in class. Like I didn't know.
Yeah, lethargic for sure.
Yeah. Now
Absolutely.
The brain fog's gone. It's wonderful.
So tell me a little bit about the journey. So you've done, obviously you're still doing stand-up and also
stand-up and
the
voiceover.
Voiceover. But you talked about a little bit about a time where you felt you hit rock bottom. You kind of went into depression. Tell me how you got out of that and kept rocking the way you are now.
Well, it was a very slow process. And one of the things that I started back then that I still do to this day, and I believe very strongly in, is doing belief work. And I have a process that I do every single day without fail. It's not quite journaling, but I do write it down. And that is,
share it, please.
I think of something that happened the day before that made me uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is a vague term for anything that, elicited a negative emotion within me. Like Amazon did something that I didn't understand with selling the book, or my agent called and I didn't get that job that I wanted, or, whatever the thing is that happened, because life moves at a pretty rapid pace. Good things happen, bad things happen. But I'm focusing on when stuff gives me a negative reaction. And by the way, it took me a long time to realize, oh, I'm having a negative reaction instead of, oh, bad stuff is happening to me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It took a long time to even make that differentiation. So once I was able to make that distinction, that helped me raise up. And then I go, okay, I like to look at what is that thing that made you feel uncomfortable? What is the emotion that you had? Frustration. It just always, I think I have something and then it doesn't work out. It's so frustrating. Okay, well, what is it? What would I have to believe is true in order for that to be true? Why would the frustration be so important? Well, because if I'm frustrated that something didn't work out, it must mean I have an underlying belief that things don't work out for me.
Mm-hmm. I like
There's
that.
some gold. And then, so you kind of just, and it's very subtle and it's very delicate and it feels like you're taking a splinter out, And then you go, and you feel like that lightness and you go, okay. And you don't have to really do much of anything else, I've noticed. It just opens you up to go, and next time, which trust me, the universe will give you an opportunity again to experience that same thing.
You'll be pissed off again.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
And you'll clock that you have a different response to it. And that's when things shift as
That's
you have a different emotional
legitimate
response.
Self-development, legitimate mental self-development.
Yes.
I love that. So think about what happened the day before that made you have a negative reaction, then define that emotion, and then do what with it? What exactly would you do with that, Anna?
I asked the question, what would I have to believe is true in order to have that negative response? Because you have a negative response, everything's filtered through your belief system, right?
Yep.
So like your daughter gets into a good college, you have a great response because you believe that a good college is going to set her up for life and it feels nice and you're going to get recognized as being a good mom because you got your kid. You know what I mean? There's all these beliefs we have tied into it. And, or your kid doesn't get into any schools and then you feel terrible because I thought I raised her better. And you know what I mean? We all have these kind of beliefs. It's in our personal life, our relationships, our business life, and, money is another huge one. A lot of folks, you won't even realize it, but you'll have a negative response and it'll be tiny and subtle to something financial that happens. Either like you'll see a news story and you'll be like, ugh, that billionaire. Or you'll see something like at the grocery store, your friend buys up all the toilet paper, which is a big thing right now. And you'll be like, that's, you know what I mean? And you have these tiny things. I'm even talking about a little tiny thing like that. Once you crack that open, more things can flow to you because you're just blocking yourself.
What's happening, Life Nation? Michael Levis here. This is a time to do the right thing, not the profitable thing. I'm giving away COVID-19 business strategy sessions for free. I promise to give you my honest advice and coach you on a strategy that I feel would be best for the longevity of your business. I'm not asking you for your money, but in the interest of being able to help as many people as I can, I am asking you to be ready with your 1 to 2 specific questions so we can jump right into it. Go to michaellevis.com/coaching and simply schedule a call on my calendar. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com/coaching. Absolutely. Once you can define the reaction, you're going to see the reaction, right? Because you've defined it already in your own mental, like you just honestly can. And I've done this before as well. But listeners, by the way, it's a great way to be able to make sure you're changing the way, whether it's impatience. And that was my issue in the past. Like I wouldn't say in the past.
I get that one.
Still working on that one, which is just, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurials, the type A's do, the expectations too high. We expect everything from everyone that we work with. And if it goes the wrong way, we pull our hair out. right? Like that's
Right.
it is what it is. But like learning, knowing that that's coming has been either one, I lower my expectations on people, but also know that it's coming. And I feel it coming. And then I kind of just
Right.
break down exactly what you did a little bit differently, but also making sure that I know that that feeling's coming and how do I counteract it to make sure
Right.
that, we're not, I'm a big fan of As a Man Thinketh, that book where it's just really at the end of the day,
Yes. Me
it's
too.
really just life's what you think about, right?
Yep.
So how do you control what you think about, and how you feel is generally what you're thinking about. So
Your reaction to the things that come up and the next feeling/action that you take as a response is how you're forming your entire life. And there are instances where you get so pissed off that something didn't happen that was for sure going to happen. Like, for example, when I launched this second book, well, hello, product placement.
yeah,
When I launched that book, it was a major crazy F up at Amazon. And it was such a like, oh, this is helping me personally learn to not let what the activity of a giant behemoth company does determine the way that I feel about myself, my value, the value of the book. And that's a big lesson because they screwed up royally. And
yeah.
the books, we had fulfilled a certain number of pre-orders, and I was so excited because it was going to be for sure bestseller list, and I was very excited about that. And it was one of those things, whenever you think something's a sure thing, just wait. You get your
Yeah.
ass handed to you.
Right,
And it
right.
was a good thing that it happened
Sure.
because the books wound up sitting on their loading dock for almost 4 weeks after the release date. Like they never shipped them out. And it was such a crazy,
Oh, wow.
and they kept telling me, you need to deliver the books. And I was like, no, I have the bill of lading. It's been delivered. It was such a little tiny thing. And then of course you think of like Amazon, we all know their workers are overworked and underpaid, and it's a whole thing. And I'm like bleeding to the Amazon angels, like just check my
But yeah, things that you can't control, things that
Things
are
you can't
literally
control.
out of your realm.
And then they started canceling orders on people. And then it's like, well, that's lost revenue. And it was all a giant exercise in that. Trust me, I was doing a lot of belief work during that.
Oh no,
Because
I can
you wanna
imagine.
go,
Right.
oh God.
Well,
And
you're
then you
working
go,
your
nope,
ass off for
this
one
is what
thing,
makes
and
you
then
better.
one thing doesn't happen that's out of your
Yeah.
control. It really pisses you off. And I think that's the normal way to react, but how to do your best to kind of limit the way that it truly makes you feel and that you react that way. Because I mean, it's funny, we're having this conversation today, and people, all my listeners know that I bash my podcast. I'm doing 14 hours of podcast today, and it's just straight, right? And as I sit here in Bogota, Colombia, I'm very blessed, but I also got this crazy belief. It seems like maybe it's just happening because as we were talking about this, listeners, coronavirus is going on. The past episodes, you may have heard that as well. But like a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are actually going out of business because, and I've been speaking with people in this realm, and I happen to be one of them, possibly, right? In my national group travel company, hundreds of thousands of dollars possibly out. Right.
I know.
And so these conversations that I'm having with people like yourself and others that are being affected, the last podcast was about sports and all about they do with sports sponsorship. NBA just canceled everything, like things that you can't control. Here's what you can control is how you feel and how you react.
Yep.
And my board and my employees and my highest level employee and I on the phone, he's like, how are you doing your podcast tomorrow? And I go, honestly, this is what makes me happy.
Sanity.
And it's sanity. And it kind of creates this, when I have these conversations with the people, why I started the podcast, to talk to people like you, Anna, and others out there that get the struggle, but get the real business and life aspect of it. And hence the name, but also understanding that, like, listen, at the end of the day, I had to go back to my own advice when I did a podcast years ago. It was just like, they asked a question about what was your biggest like takeaway in entrepreneurship. It was like, if I lose it all, I'll figure it out. And
that's it.
That's the case right now, is that it's unfortunate. I'm not saying that we're losing it all. I'll figure it out. Is that we're just going to figure it out. And so it's almost like I have to take the fear and turn that into opportunity, and legitimately take the feeling of fear, turn it into an excitement, and say, how do we tackle the hell out of it?
What is the new inspired action we can take based on the data we now have?
Right.
Is somebody going to perfect this work from home thing? It's companies who are like, no, you have to come in all the time. You have to come into your job, are now finally saying, no, you can work from home. And I'm like, hello, we should have had this work-life freedom for people with regular jobs for a long time.
I know.
But yes, there are a lot of things. We've had to cancel comedy shows. We've had to cancel trips to New York to do comedy. It's a bummer. And now those are much smaller scale shows, but it's still those little micro economies are very affected.
The non-controllables. For sure.
And again, it's you're right about taking that action from where you are, because we're not gonna be able to do it like we used to. And I think by the time you're my age and you remember the crisis that was 9/11, not just the actual national crisis itself, what was happening in New York City and DC with those plane crashes and the insanity surrounding that, but just nationally, all the flights were grounded. Everything was canceled that entire fall through the holidays. It was a scary time. And I remember now when I was thinking about it, the best thing to do is to do your best to stay focused. Stay up here. Don't get afraid. Take action to prepare and protect yourself, but don't get in that mindset or else you're gone. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. If you give in to, like right now, not necessarily the media hype, because I wouldn't say that I'll piss too many people off. So if you give in to allowing yourself to just be as nervous and not live your life the way you need to live it regardless, then,
Right.
it is what it is, but don't give in to the fear, if you will. I guess that's a better way to put it. How are you currently, you feel, building the life that you want to live, Anna?
I feel pretty darn good. However, I hit a personal business goal. And I say that's kind of a misnomer, but you know what I'm saying? I had set a personal goal for myself, for my businesses, to hit a certain level, and I hit that. And now it's interesting because I'm like, oh, I got a taste now. I got a taste. And now I want to like bump it up and bump it up. And so it is interesting that stuff is happening that is potentially slowing things down. And I feel like we're all going to have a lot of time to turn inward and create a lot of content for those of us who are content creators. So I'm very curious to see what comes out of all of this.
Yeah.
So I am building I just bought a house 2 hours north of Los Angeles that I'm currently remodeling. And I'm very much looking forward to shifting all of my entire life up there and having a more bucolic existence after having the city life pretty much my entire life. I grew up in DC and lived in Atlanta and lived in LA. So I am very happy about that. And I am very happy about cooking real food. And I will continue to write recipes and cook real food and come up with new products. I'm launching a marinara in June.
Oh, cool.
No sugar added, obviously. I'll be launching more things, salsas, marinaras. It's hard to package fresh food. So I don't want to do that. I don't want anything with chemicals. I don't want anything with added sugar. I want my products to be something that are reliable and healthy and make your life easier in the kitchen. And I am happy that people are finding this material. And what makes me the happiest are my buyers who say to me, I got your cookbook and I had never set foot in a kitchen, and now I make dinner every night of the week for my family. And I go, yes.
Such a win. That's an awesome win. Yeah.
Get every American back in the kitchen. And as an entrepreneur, you know how your schedule is crazy, but you got to do stuff like that. You got to get back in there with your family. You got to make some stuff. You got to work with your kids and teach them how to make some stuff.
Yeah. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And that can be a great part of life in terms of outside of just the cooking. It's like the cooking brings the time together. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And there's so much cool parts about that. Tell us one piece of parting advice that you'd give to the business and life listeners today.
Parting advice. You know what? I believe a lot in timing is everything. So if something doesn't work out, and again, this comes from now being 46 years old and having a lot of things go right, but a lot of things go wrong. And oftentimes you think that you really want this thing, but you're not ready until you get it at a certain point. You just weren't ready, and that's okay. Keep getting ready. Keep doing the work. Keep putting the hours in. Whatever you're inspired to do, do it until you can do it no further, and then think of something else to do. Keep working towards that, and eventually the feedback will start to come in. What's going to be the thing that takes you to that millionaire level? Because it feels like you're like, I don't know, I'm just grinding it out. I'm grinding. And I feel like that's honestly what your 30s is. Your 30s is a lot of grinding, unless you happen to be one of those wonderkind entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then all of a sudden something kind of cracks open
right
after you've been doing it for a little while. So just trust me on the timing and keep doing the work.
And where can people find you?
At my website, annavocino.com, or just go straight to Amazon. Get your hands on this puppy. Isn't she cute? That's my kitchen. And get Eat Happy or Eat Happy 2 or both. I mean, honestly, if you buy them both, Amazon will give you a deal, or Barnes & Noble. Sorry, didn't mean to give you no love, Barnes & Noble. Yeah, on the Instagram's my favorite, which, by the way, I used Instagram to communicate with my audience when the launch was going askew back in the fall. And I love using social to be able to deepen the connection, because I'm telling you, I was getting crazy emails from people like, Amazon canceled my order. Anna, this is your fault. Like, people were nuts.
Oh, sure.
Like, people were upset over a cookbook not getting to them right the day that Amazon said it was going to get to them. And I was like, this is insane. But I was able to use Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Really deepen that
to
connection.
Communicate the message. Oh, yeah. Talk about the opportunity with a negative, right? Like, you have a deeper connection because you're
much deeper.
That's huge. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on all the successes and hitting the business goals. Keep rocking, and thank you so much for your time and dropping some knowledge with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow, because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.